As we said, we're cooking with Joe Hamilton. How are you?
I'm very well.
I think that's another round of applause for Joe Hamilton.
Come on.
Thank you very much.
We've got to wake them all up.
Yeah, you've paid to get in, you may as well enjoy it. So, Joe, you told me yesterday, you confessed that you cook a little bit. So it means I get 40 minutes of just kind of telling you what to do and you can kind of get on with it.
Right, okay.
Is that all right?
Well, I'd really like to see how it is cooking with a real chef. So
all right, well, we'll do half and half, then we'll do it that way. So the first dish that we're going to do is we're going to make a lamb Wellington.
Yeah.
Which is a lamb loin with a pate of smoked bacon and mushrooms and anchovies, wrapped in spinach, then wrapped in puff pastry and in the oven. Posh lamb pasty.
Sounds gorgeous.
The second dish is a chocolate fondant. So you know that chocolate cake where it splits open, it's all gooey and runny inside, and then ice cream and some edible flowers and some other bits. It's really, really simple.
My favourite dessert, actually.
There you go, so it better work, hadn't it? I do keep shouting about how this works every single time, and the other day I forgot to put the flour in it, so we'll have to make sure we remember everything today. For anybody who doesn't know what you do out there, you do interior design consultations.
Yes,
Is
I
that
do.
Right?
Yes, I run an interior design business. We're based in London.
Okay.
So,
what is that? You tell people which cushions to put where, or what wallpaper to pick, or do you go into people's houses and move their existing stuff about?
we generally work right the way through from just initial consultancy to and advising people on what they want to do with their homes. They'll tell me, well, I want my home to feel like this, and I can just advise them. Or we can do complete renovation, which is what we tend to do. So we'll get builders in and we'll make a real mess, and then we'll put it all back together again.
Now, do you go more on what the house looks like, or more on what the person's sort of feeling is towards stuff? Which one? Because there has to be a balance between the two. If you've got a really, really old house and then start putting loads of random modern stuff in there, do the two work or do they clash? Or?
That's a really good question, actually. It's a bit of both. I'm a real believer in people having homes that suit them. So there's no point in having a home that suits suits me. I can't go around stamping my style on an interior. And likewise, if somebody has a 1930s house and they hate the 1930s thing, then you can just twist it and go slightly more modern.
No,
so it's a bit of both.
I always ask Kevin this one, because I'm lucky enough to cook with Kevin McLeod as well. Do you ever go into anywhere and think this is just horrific?
Frequently. What does he say?
He says that he has been into places and thought, oh my God, but doesn't quite know how to tell them. So he plays it's your taste, and it's unique to you, and I'm sure you enjoy it, but it's not really what I would go for.
Yeah.
So you have to be quite diplomatic, because you are dealing with somebody's personal taste. Cooking's a bit different in that we make our best guess with a dish and try and perfect it and hope people like it.
Sure.
You actually have to really deal personally with that particular client, don't you?
I've got very good at kind of saying, if a client says, well, I really like this, I want to, I want to use this mustard yellow sofa, I've got very good at saying, well, you could do that, or you could do it this way, and then kind of showing them a different twist on it. So that's the way I get around it.
And you do courses as well. I can see flyers on the front there. I'm going to do the shameless plug of the flyers on the front there.
Sorry about that. I have I run interior design courses at the Sanderson Hotel in London.
Nice.
And we have a great day because we just the courses came about just because I love talking to people about interiors. It's what I do for my business, but it's also something I do for a hobby. So I really enjoy it, and I love to kind of share it with people that wouldn't necessarily have an interior designer.
The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our lovely steamed spinach. The reason we steamed it was if we dropped it in a pan of water, we just end up with a big pan of green goop. If you steam it, it locks in all the colour and all the leaves fall apart nicely. So, Joe, what I'd like you to do is make a nice big rectangle of the leaves like so, just out on there.
Perfect.
Okay?
So just hands in. Shall I take the jewel?
Yeah, it's fine. Pardon me? Yeah, that's what we're going to do in a second. So we need that lamb loin to go cold, because obviously we're going to be wrapping a pate around it, the spinach around it, and then we're going to put puff pastry around it. We don't want it to be warm when it goes in there, because it'll force the butter out of the pastry, and the pastry will go really, really greasy. So we want that nice crisp pastry. In the meanwhile, back to the cooking. Brilliant. What we need to do now is, if you can just press all the moisture out of that. Now what we're trying to do is create that sushi nori kind of thing, that seaweed square with the spinach. So it gives us a nice flat surface to put the pate on and then roll the lamb loin in. Right, in the meanwhile, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take our pate mushrooms, smoked bacon, anchovy, and a little bit of whole grain mustard, and just cook it down until all the moisture's gone. And then you blitz it up in a food processor. I know you're frowning, I know you know what you think this looks like, but it does taste good. In the middle, and then what's your plastering skills like? Nice even square, just inside the square that you've created with the spinach. That's a great job. Joe, next thing to do is lamb loin right in the middle. So now we've got our sushi roll.
Great.
So
get rolling, do
we do this back to here, like so, and this is where I drop it on the floor, and over, and back, and the same on this side, over and back. And I'm just going to flip that over once more so the seam's on the bottom now, and I'm just going to move those little bits out of the way and into the bin, and then just tidy the ends up. And I'm just going to shift that to one side while we dry this out, and it's pastry time. There's no shame in it. 99% of chefs in the UK are using ready-rolled stuff like this or ready-made puff pastry. So what we need to do now, Joe, is you have to get your decorating skills out. So I'm going to put the lamb in the middle of that piece of pastry, and then if you can just paint a frame all the way around the outside of that for me. And I'm only using egg yolk and water because you get a better glue and you get a better gloss when you bake it. You're not chasing those bits of stringy raw egg white around and trying to get it all to mix in. Perfect. There's the perfectionist coming out. Look, I bet you're counting how many times you go around there as well, aren't you? So they're all even.
It's terrible. Terrible being a designer.
If you can take the other piece of pastry, and because it's on a bit of paper, you can put it onto your hand and then onto the top of that.
So how did you get it onto the paper? You just...
It comes on the paper in a big roll. We've got a big roll of it, and we just cut off with scissors what we need.
Oh dear.
That's okay, it's fine. Perfect. So, lamb pasty. Make sense? Nice and easy. Still with us up to now? In a nice straight line, down that way, and that way. Probably about across there, so you leave about that much.
Leaving about an inch around.
Okay? Just leaves us a nice little seal around the outside.
Right.
Perfect. A bit wobbly there.
It's not good. I want to go back and redo it.
That's it, we'll have to start again. Cut, go again.
That'll be in the bin for me now.
And we're just going to get rid of this trim off here, like so. Look how easy that is. So you can get the kids doing it. A little bit of cooking, like the idea of having the kids in the kitchen doing a little bit. So we're back onto the gloss work again.
Right.
So if you'd like to gloss that up, that'd be great. And then we're going to stick it in the oven at 215 degrees. Now that seems really, really high, but we only really want to cook the pastry. The time that the pastry cooks, the lamb's going to cook through to just nice and pink in the centre. Because we don't want it to go brown all the way through, dry out. We want that nice blush of pink all the way through. So 12 minutes at 215 degrees. Now I'm going to put that in the oven for you so that you don't burn yourself. Straight onto a preheated tray. I brought some wild food with me today, so I'm hoping some of you will recognise that. Who was that? Samphire, you're absolutely right. They used to give this away in the boxes of fish to help keep the fish fresh. Then some chefs look it on TV and it's now £10 a pound. Brilliant, isn't it? Very, very short season, 6 to 8 weeks. And they pick it by hand on mud flats. So they're up to the knees in mud, bent over double, picking this stuff. So for me, it's worth £10 a pound. Worth every penny.
I love Samphire, but I can never find it. There's only one little place that I know that I can go to get it.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of suppliers starting to come around to this kind of stuff. There's 2 kinds of Samphire in England. There's this one, and there's one called the Marsh Samphire, which has a fatter, sort of flatter leaf to it. So you can get it, but it's only a very, very short season. No doubt we'll start farming it properly and import it at some point. There's this one, which is sea fennel. This is seaweed, which looks a lot like spinach. This one is buckler sorrel. We've got red watercress, but we're also going to put some sea kale, which looks a little bit like celery with a cabbage top on it. A little bit of purple sparrow, which is just finishing its season really, so we have to wait till the autumn again for it. And English asparagus, perfectly in season at the moment. Asparagus you can watch grow. You can sit in the field and just watch it and it'll grow. It'll grow in front of you. This is a bag of chocolate, glucose and butter. Can you just whisk those as though you were going to make scrambled eggs? That's perfect. And with a pair of scissors, thank you, James. That's great, I'll take that. If you would like to cut the corner off that and then squeeze all of that chocolate into there.
Never this easy at home, is it?
So this is foolproof, this recipe.
This method works. If you watch any of the cookery shows, the one with the bald guy and the Aussie who shout all the time about how chocolate fondants don't work, they don't know why they bother baking them, this method absolutely works. If you don't have a sous chef, and you want to try this method, and I'll explain why I use this method in a second, then put it on the windowsill in the sunshine, sit it on a radiator, stick it under your bum and sit down and have a cup of coffee. And it works because when you do it in a bowl over water, and it sometimes goes all grainy and horrible and looks as though it's seized up, could you just mix that into there? Thank you. It's because you've lost the water moisture out of the chocolate. Now you can try and put the water back in, which will bring it back together, but you don't know how much you lost. If you put it in a bag and seal it, none of the moisture can get away, so it doesn't split, it doesn't seize up. Very simple. If you make a cake with traditional sugar, you have to cream the butter and the sugar together first till it goes light and fluffy. All the people out there that still make cakes, yeah? Because we're doing an undercooked cake and we want that liquid centre, the sugar doesn't get time to dissolve, so we use a liquid sugar and then it gives you that nice silky finish. So we're going to tip our flour into there. I'm very, very conscious of doing that now since I forgot it the other day. There you go. You don't need to be gentle with this. This is a recipe I did. I'm not very big on cakes and pastry and all that kind of stuff, so I tend to just throw stuff in and knock it together. We don't have to worry about it too much, but it's nice to see somebody who's taking care, taking the time. If you want somebody to redesign your house, you want somebody who's going to take care and time over it and do it properly, so it's nice to see that. Right, our mix is now done, so what I'm going to do is, if you could just divide that evenly between those two moulds. Again, back to our fantastic steam oven. Look at the colour of these. They've retained the colour beautifully, all of the nutritional values locked inside them, and now our dish is going to start to come together. We're going to take our Wellington out here with a hot tray and a damp cloth, which is always good, and we're going to leave it there to rest for 4 or 5 minutes. Firstly, you're going to pop those fondants into the oven. That's coming along nicely. So again, Joe, we're going to milk your artistic talent. Again, we're going to leave that to rest. What I'd like you to do is, I'll take that spoon, using the sea vegetables that are up in the front and the vegetables that we've just steamed off. Any way you like on there. Don't have to use them all, or you can use them all if you like. Just make it beautiful. So, if you could just take the ends off here and here, that'd be great. I'm using a serrated knife because you can use a nice sawing action. If you use this one, all you tend to do is crush it. So, serrated knife just gives you a little bit of better purchase on the pastry, and you can see the spinach has stayed beautifully bright green in there. It hasn't gone grey, it hasn't lost its shape. You can still see the individual leaves in there. Then, if you'd like to just cut that piece in half, whichever way you like, join the angle straight across, whichever makes you happy. And if I've done my job properly, this lamb should now be perfectly blush pink in the centre, and that lovely green spinach, and you can see the stuffing, and that lamb's just letting the juices come out. Just perfect. So, onto there, and then that's the first course done. We're there. Our fondants are out the oven. We're just going to give those 30 seconds to relax. Works every single time, he says with confidence.
And the recipes are on the website again, that Mila Creative Living website.
So, like a few little flowers.
That's the nicest I've seen those looking all week.
What do you mean?
Sorry, no offence.
That's nice, isn't it? Right, Joe, you're going to do the rest of the week. I'm going to go home. Right, last job to do. A couple of nice big scoops of ice cream on there. And then I'm going to prove that this recipe works every single time. The final thing to do to prove these work every time, James, are you right in on this? You ready? Is. Oh, look at that. And that is our second dish, which is a chocolate fondant, edible flowers, vanilla ice cream. Thank you very much. A big thank you to Joe Hamilton.